Are we live?
Yeah, we're live.
Hey guys.
Welcome to the third episode of the BJJ Fight Gear Lockdown Talks. We're here with a very special guest today from Norway. I'll introduce him in a minute. My name's Misha. I'm here with my co-host Jan, aka the Human Forklift. Also, welcome to the show. And if you like the show so far, you like this episode, make sure you subscribe to the channel, the Gi Experts, and leave the comments below in the comments here if you would like to see a certain guest in the future, or you have some comments about what we're discussing today, some questions. There's something being torn down here in the back. I hope you guys are not too disturbed by the noise. But without further ado, our next guest is one of the most famous jiu-jitsu competitors, especially at the moment coming up, but he's been kind of coming up for a while, gathering medals throughout the different belts, and well known for innovative techniques, including of course, the Tarikoplata, kind of signature. Tarik Hopstock won every golden medal possible in blue belts, including worlds and Europeans, and been collecting medals all over the world ever since.
Didn't go for worlds. I didn't do worlds as a blue
Didn't the
belt.
worlds? Okay,
No.
just correction there.
It's okay.
But pretty much everything else, I could say. You took home bronze in your division and silver in the absolute at the last Europeans as a brown belt, IBGF Europeans. We had your teammate over, Hussein from Frontline Academy, training in the same team, but of course in a different city. You're in Bergen.
Yeah.
And you had multiple prestigious invite-onlys that you competed in, including Polaris and many others. And you had your DVD coming out, BJJ Athletics. Welcome, Tarik. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. And it's been a journey so far. And thank you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you doing right now? How's your life during the lockdown? And
It's actually
how's
it's
it going?
pretty cool and chill. Like to be honest, I think that was the best thing that could happen for my schoolwork because
Right.
I'm like this is my bachelor degree that I like the last semester of my bachelor. So I have to write my bachelor thesis, and I just finished one like big paper, and I'm so happy that I'm like put it away. So now I only have the bachelor thesis to write, and
Mhm.
so not having all the competitions and traveling and seminars and stuff like this does help you kind of focus on one side.
Yeah,
But
get it
uh,
done.
but at the same time, I miss it really badly. But I have like I can't complain because I have my girlfriend to train with. I have like everything around me. I managed to train strength and conditioning 3 times a week. To be honest, I'm actually gaining some weight, the muscles, so
Right.
that's good.
Heavyweights, be aware.
Yeah, man. Like now, yesterday I think I was 85, and that
Oh,
was that was like a shorts and t-shirt, so like not even with the gi on.
man.
And and I mean I've been
And
just
is
doing
that
a
all
lot of
muscle, or are you also catching up on your snacks and Netflixing and
like I do I maybe I do eat more now because I have more time to because I'm at home so I can like eat whenever I need to eat, and there's nothing like
yeah,
making me wait between the different meal times. But also I think it's because now that I do the strength and conditioning, I also have the time to rest in between the sessions, so my body recovers more and builds up even further. Because I would combine it with jiu-jitsu, and then therefore I wouldn't get the full effect of the strength and conditioning. And so yeah, and also like I've done a lot of rehab things like stabilization training, and I think it's good for my body because before I would have like some quirks because I only place like guard on one side, and my body becomes kind of like like not so symmetrical, and one leg is stronger than the other or more flexible than the other, and therefore you get injured somehow in the end. But
and
yeah,
you think
so
it's good to really recover on some long-term injuries now?
yeah, like I've been lucky that with the that I haven't had any long-term injuries. Like as a blue belt, I did have a shoulder that was bad. Like I got popped my shoulder out of place, displacement. But like it took me a year perhaps, before I managed to get it like completely fine. But other than that, I've just had like some ankle locks and some foot locks that have been really bad, and then I had to limp for a couple of weeks and then back to training.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm lucky there.
Yeah. Good. So what would a normal day look like? You mentioned what you're doing right now. Like, how does it compare to like a normal day outside of COVID crisis, but just normal training, your normal routine?
I think for me now is because I have the routine that I always train Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and I do a lot of high intensity training like Tabata. Like that's one sort of high intensity training method that I like to use, but I only do that on Saturdays because if I did it every second day, I would die. But it's super good, and it's a way of like training in a very short amount of time and getting as much results as possible through that. And I believe also it forces you to work on a different intensity, like that's similar to jiu-jitsu. So you're always like pushing yourself, while like the traditional strength training that I like to do as well is more of a lift, rest, and then you're not really actually sweating. You're just feeling tired in your muscles, you know. And that one is really good too. And maximum that one is good for maximal strength. But I believe the one that I'm doing now is better for high, like a lot of repetitions, high intensity, and more of that kind of situation wise.
Right. Awesome. Yeah, I'd like to talk to you more about strength training also later on. At the end of the interview, I have a surprise question by one of our previous guests.
Oh yeah, cool.
So if you talk about normal day, like outside of lockdown, what does it look for you in terms of how do you divide sparring, drilling, specific training?
So what I would do usually is I have on a normal day, let's say Monday, for example, I would go maybe train in the morning or go to school in the morning, depending on how my schedule is set up. And then I would probably not do much rounds, maybe maximum 2 rounds, depending on the sparring or how it is compared to the competition coming up. But then I would also like wait with the hard sparring for the night. So it's more drilling focused, more technical focused on the mornings, and then on the nights or the evening class, I would do the hard sparring, right? But then comes Tuesday, which Tuesday I will usually do the strength training on the morning. And so I don't want to spar as hard as I did on Monday night. So I want to kind of keep it cool on Tuesday nights. So it's more, it's of course sparring, but it's not like I'm trying to kill myself doing it, you know.
Just the others.
So it's more of a technical. Try to put yourself in certain situations where you know you're working on something, you're trying to improve yourself technically, and like for example, I was horrible in 50-50, so I would like force myself to get into like 50-50 positions with the people here, my professor here in Bergen, and like just try, doesn't work, go back and then try, you know.
Yeah. Did you always train like that since you started as a white belt, or
no, like I have been through a lot of different methods of training in my life. Like I think as a white belt and because I went through the kids belts as well, yellow and orange, but not green, but I got yellow and orange and then blue.
Right.
But when I got my blue belt, I was still just training a lot and not necessarily thinking about the quality of the training. Like, I think, of course, the more you spend time on something, you will definitely improve. But I think to some degree, I also hurt myself, physically, by training more. Like, because I ended up having tendonitis, like inflamed muscles here,
all right,
in both of my arms. For some period of time, which took a long time to recover from. Not an injury, but it's more of a it's just always there preventing you from performing well. And footlocks started hurting, Tarikoplata started hurting, and you just have to like kind of avoid those submissions. But seeing as stubborn as I was when I was a blue belt, I would still go for those submissions, and I would just make the problems worse, you know. So some lessons I learned doing that, you know, and then I learned also to let myself recover. I also need to think quality over quantity. You know, we only have so limited amount of time during the day, and like I could I can of course come and just drill whatever and then go and spar and basically go back to the things that I used to do before, but that's not going to make me improve, right? Having a focus and being there present, thinking about what you want to work on exactly will help you out quite a bit. So I think that's kind of the biggest difference mentality wise
Right.
from low belts.
Yeah. And do you think that's similar for most people, or does everybody have a different way of developing towards that kind of way of training where you really methodologically, systematically go through developing your techniques?
I think people are different for sure. Not everybody learned the same way. Sometimes I think a lot of the details I can show something to people, right? And one thing is like what I show is what I know I'm showing. But a lot of the things I do stuff that I don't necessarily know what I'm doing, but I do them, right? So it's kind of like uh, the knowledge that I feel and my body knows, but I don't necessarily explain it well, right? But then as soon as somebody sees me teaching it and they're like, yeah, but you do this exact detail there and there, you know? And then I'm like, yeah, you have a good point. That is true. Hey guys, look at this detail here, right?
Right.
And I think that detail wasn't necessarily pointed out for me, but it's important for somebody else perhaps, you know. And I think there's some things that people are going to pick up quite easily, and there's other things they won't pick up as easily, and everybody progresses differently depending on subject, depending on, you know, it could be just your day, you know, like how was your day? Was it stressful? And then perhaps
Right.
you're not going to actually learn so much because your mind is somewhere else, you know.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of factors that comes in play. So there's no like easy solution to that one.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. And if we uh, go back to like your normal routine, is it pretty much like that going through the year, or do you have a lot of variation working towards a competition and then a bit of a resting time afterwards?
So what I try to do is I want to maintain my strength the up towards the competitions, but I don't want it to hurt my jiu-jitsu training. Like I don't want it to prevent me from going hard when I'm going to spar, right? So the important part is to kind of lower down the load in the strength training. You could do some explosive sets, you can do some high repetitions, but not necessarily having heavy weights, you know. And then you can do the sparring beside it. And I would cut down to 2 days a week of strength training instead of 3, because that would just maintain and not build, you know, because I still want to be strong, but I don't want to build up at that period. But say after the competition season is over, or let's say there's a little gap of 2-3 months, then I will go back to build up the strength and focus a little bit more there and more basics. And also for my motivation, I want to be more playful in jiu-jitsu wise, like not too much about strategy, not too much about like fixing the small things that I need to do in my game, but more about just doing what I love for the love of it. And I think that helps me come back also for the next season. So when the competition season is back in, then I'm strong and also motivated to start competing again. But now in the quarantine, this has been just like a huge build-up time. So I've just had like a lot of time to do strength training, eat well, sleep well, and yeah, no traveling, nothing that interrupts the routines.
Yeah, because how do you keep sane during this time? Do you do some kind of morning motivation, or like do you have any rituals like that?
I don't know, like I have ambitions here and there, and I have things like that I wanted to work on. and like I'm working a little bit on a web page that I'm doing and a YouTube channel, and there's going to be some cool stuff coming up there. But besides that, you know, like I love to do gaming as well. So there's always something to do. I'm not the person that feels too isolated. Like I'm a people's person for sure, but I'm not an extrovert. I'm an introvert on some areas, just to say. But I guess like especially now that we have started opening up for solo drills at the academy, so I'm teaching a little bit now, solo drills, and it's nice to
cool.
see people again, you know, talk. And
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
must be
like
very
it's not
happy.
the same as jiu-jitsu. It's just it's like 45 minutes of warm up,
Yeah.
but I think a lot of the people have a lot to gain from it, because I think now it's the time you can like go really into detail on learning how to shoot for a takedown, you know, not hurting your knees when you drop down and all those small things. Now's the right time to fix that. So I think yeah,
Yeah.
this is keeping me sane.
Yeah. Well, that's a very positive way to approach it. Also, I think that will help a lot of people to get through this that are really itchy for going back to training.
Yeah.
You mentioned your different interests also in
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
So outside of jiu-jitsu, how do you see yourself 10, 20 years from now? Is it definitely going to be your own gym and seminars, or do you might go into a different direction in life?
No, I'm definitely gonna try a lot to do within jiu-jitsu. Like, I'm finishing up my bachelor degree now, and it's in physical education, and so it's been very connected to what I already do in one way, because I learned about how to teach, and I learned about like the physiology, like things that are basically what I want to learn about because of jiu-jitsu, you know. And I think having that education really helped me out to develop jiu-jitsu wise as well, and how to approach teaching in a different manner, and more of a systematic approach, the way they do in schools. And so like in the future, I don't know if I'm ever going to open up a gym, but like the reason I say this is because I'm always thinking like there's so much drama, there's so much stuff to like fix when you have your own gym and you're
Yeah.
responsible for it, compared to when you're just an instructor at somebody else's gym. It's much nicer because you're just there doing your job, jiu-jitsu, and go back home, you know. So I'm not saying no to it, but I'm saying like right now that seems more of a less complicated road to take, you
Right.
know?
And that's also possible at Frontline, right? It's a really huge full-time gym where you could definitely have a full-time paid instructor on and have that kind of
Yeah.
career.
So we have one here in Bergen, which is on the west coast of Norway. And so we have I don't know how many members we have post Corona, but like before the Corona, we had around 340 members, I believe, and it's growing, like it's super good. And I'm mainly responsible for the nogi. So I had nogi classes 4 times a week, and then I teach some of the gi classes here and there, especially when somebody's traveling or something like that. That's also one thing. If you have your own gym, you can't travel as much anymore, right? You're really like stuck in one place in one way. So no, like definitely cool to work in the jiu-jitsu community.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I um I heard a story about you, about your youth, which was very interesting to me to hear, for me to hear, when you were in Morocco and you had to escape back to Norway. I don't know if you want to tell us something about that, but maybe there's some kind of interesting jiu-jitsu story that you remember, something that happened kind of off the mat that you say, okay, I'll never forget that again. That was such a laugh, or so crazy that happened.
Yeah, like so not a lot of people know my story, you know, like, and it's not something I always talk about, but my closest friends, they always joke about it with me, you know. They make so many dad jokes. But anyways, long story short, so me and my family, we moved down to Morocco, and we were supposed to live there for a year. and things didn't turn out too well between my mom and my dad, and so my mom had to leave and to like release some of the tension. And yeah, we were supposed to stay there for a year, but my dad decided not to send us off after a year, so we stayed there for 2 more years. And yeah, basically after attempting one escape, we failed, and then the second time we managed to succeed. So
Yeah, yeah.
and we got away, and yeah, back to Norway.
Crazy. Yeah, yeah. Did that have a lot of influence on you, that experience, or is it
I
something for
think
you that?
I did have a very strange perspective in life as a kid. You know, like I didn't really care about the same things everybody cared about, and coming back home, school didn't seem like much to me. But in one way, I think it was really good that I found jiu-jitsu, because it was a place that I felt like I belonged. You know, and Teta just took me in straight away. And like, it's something really funny that he said to me one time when he found out about my story. So he was like, "Yeah, now you went from the frying pan into the fire." So he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna make you train harder." But it was good times for sure. And I was 15 when I started training, and like I didn't really have any ambitions or anything in life to work up towards. Like my idea was just to live day by day, and like it didn't matter what I did in school. But then what Teta did was he forced us basically to put more effort into our education. So one day he said like he would suspend us if we didn't do better
Oh
in
wow.
school. So I was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna do school, I'm gonna fix it, I'm gonna make my grades, improve my grades, or all of that. And I think that was like a super good move from his side, as a coach. Uh, like one thing, I listen to my mom, of course, but it's a different thing when your coach tells you to do something, and he kind of has that ability to force you out of the academy if he wants to. And then I'm like, no,
Yeah.
please, I need to train. I want us to keep training here. And that was also the time, like, me and my friend Alex, we were drilling in the mornings all the time, and I think even sometimes we would skip school to train. So I think it was smart, super smart.
Right. Yeah. And is he your professor? Is he tough on everybody, or is it different between like more recreational students and the ones that he sees? Okay, these are really gonna break through, possibly.
No, like that's the beauty of Frontline Academy. Like there's a very strong competition team for sure, and like he's gonna be hard on you when you're in the competition team or the competition class, because that's why it's there. But we also have the family guys. We also have the hobby guys. We have we have classes for only people over 30.
Yeah.
And I think that's a super cool class. Like that's the chill and drill and some sparring class. But I mean, of course, if you come to the competition classes, the in the morning or depending on the time, but the competition classes is gonna be like, yeah, you're gonna take him down, do a pass, get a submission, and then you're gonna do that for 15 minutes, and then next off you're gonna do some sparring, and then it's just like it's only just competition kind of thinking. Very strategical, and you should have a certain amount of knowledge before you go there. So usually it's purple belt and up.
Right. Yeah. So there's really a difference between those two types of students that you're
Yeah, but
kind
at
of.
the same time, I think the cool thing is that anybody can go on each one. So you kind of like you can steer it yourself. If you want to have a chill day, you can go to the plus 30 class, or you can go to the intermediate class, or like there's different kinds of levels. But yeah, I think it's cool to have the different levels, because it basically invites the different people that have different ambitions in life. You don't want to put up the competition dude with one of the hobbyists, and the guy is going to feel terrible because he's just getting smashed, and because the other guy is clearly there to train for competition, and then it's just a collision of intentions. While when you have a class that's dedicated to one certain thing, even if it's a competition dude coming to that class, he knows that's that class for the guys over 30. So he has to respect that and then treat them like it's that kind of class, you know? While if it's just any class, you know, people are going to do whatever they want.
Yeah, got it. I guess already because you've been competing at quite a high level and collecting medals already since you were a lower belt. I guess you've always been a bit in the spotlight at the academy, like the prodigy and the one of the better or maybe the best competitor. But you've also been in that kind of spotlight on a bigger level, like on a European level, as one of the upcoming or one of the most exciting competitors in your belt, in your division. People, I can imagine people kind of also after a while, if you have been collecting medals, people expect something from you. Is it something you feel pressured with, or how do you deal with that?
Like that's the thing. Like you might feel pressured that people expect you to win or expect you to do better, but in reality, it's all about yourself and your opponent on the mat. You know, like you can't be thinking about all the other things outside. And I know like a lot of people compete usually to impress others. And oh, let me fix this. There, now my name says on the screen. And I know a lot of people like compete for a confirmation from their coach or from their family or from friends, you know. And the reality is, I think if that's your motivation, I don't think you will ever be satisfied. You know, you're always doing it to make somebody else happy. But the moment you do it to make yourself happy, that's when you can actually succeed, you know? Because the reality is that you can control yourself better than you can control everybody else. That's just how it is. That's how life is. And that's why I think having those expectations to yourself, uh, like if it's me expecting something from myself, that's fine, you know, like I have certain expectations, but thinking about others' expectations to you, that's just going to destroy you in the long run. Because there's always going to be, what is he thinking about me, how is he, uh, what will he say after I did that match, or you know, like it's always going to be negative thoughts, and then it's going to spiral down, and somehow you're going to end up not liking what you're doing in the end. So for me, I think it's really important to do it for your own sake and for the reasons or the right reasons, right?
Yeah,
So
what's because there's obviously also people that they do it for themselves and they are motivated. They really have that goal to become a world champ or to become really good at a higher level in jiu-jitsu. What's the difference, or what's the main reason or the one factor that can actually get you there, would you say, like, instead of maybe slipping out or stopping halfway? How do you go all the way? Because it's not something you do in a year or in 2 years. You have to go after it for a long time and many hours a day, week after week, after year.
it's definitely, it's a process, you know, and it's building habits day after day, loving your habits. That's one thing as well. Like I hear a lot of people say that, yeah, strength training is super like boring. You're just doing the same thing again and again, and it's like yeah, it's not like jiu-jitsu. It's not the complexity. It's not like if you're submitting someone or choking someone, you know. And I think you, of course, you have to bite a sour apple here and there and do some boring stuff just so that you can be better, you know. But I think you have to learn to like the habits that you do and see the progress in it, see the goals in it, see the fruits that it bears from doing it day by day and pushing through. And so it's no easy task. It takes a special kind of mentality, and I think a lot of people who really try to be big and really go for it, but then they don't see the progress. They've really, like, they look down on themselves, and then they kind of like get demotivated. And usually it's because everybody else is making progress beside you, you know, because we're all in this race, right? And then you look to the side, but the guy is still there right beside you. And you're thinking, man, I'm not running fast enough. Not running fast enough. And I think if you always compare yourself to the people next to you, you're not going to see how far you're going to progress. Like you have to compare yourself to who you were in the past. You can look at your matches, you can look at whatever you did before, and then you're like, wow, I've progressed so far since that day. And imagine what I can do ahead, you know. I think also when I watch my old matches, I'm like cringing, you know, like why did I do this? Oh my God, you know, but that means your progress, you know, because already then, you know, like I should have done something else in that situation or that position. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things, small things that are gonna make it easier.
Right. Do you watch a lot of matches?
Yeah, or it depends. Sometimes I watch a lot of matches and then I go for a little period that I don't watch a lot of matches. And now it's been a little bit less to watch out there, you know, like I've been watching some old matches. Like recently I watched Bruno Malfacine versus Caio 2013, I believe, Worlds, which is a super cool match, which is ties out to two advantages each or something like that, and Bruno wins it, but in ref decision. But like stuff like that, I love to watch old matches as well.
Do you usually focus on sorry, matches from your own weight class when you study matches, or do you watch the
Not
lighter weights?
necessarily. No, I watch a lot of different ones for sure. Like if I'm studying my opponent, then of course it would be my weight division. But I like to watch bigger guys, smaller guys. Like I try to look at specific people. Like you can see there's a certain game that I like to study or something like that. Then I will look at the guy who does it the most. You know, like for example the Coyote guard, which is infamous half guard by Lucas Leitch. And like that's the guy to go and watch, you know. Like I go straight to his highlights, to his matches, just to see how he enters the position, what he does from that position, and the guy is super good at it, you know. So there's a lot to learn from it.
There's you do that to other competitors, but obviously you have become such a person yourself that people look up to certain signature techniques, and already since purple belt I think certain techniques have been named after you, or you gave your own flavor to them, and you seem to be using different submissions also, yeah, like during different times, kind of, or at least a focus on different things. Does that kind of evolve naturally, or do you go through that very strategically? Like, I want to develop my game this way, and how does that come about?
It's a little bit of coincidence, and of course, I'm very like I think especially blue belt and purple belt, I was very tunnel visioned. Like I would go for one thing and one thing only, and I think that kind of made me a little bit ahead of the most of the people, because I had a plan and that was the plan. That's the thing I'm gonna do, you know. Like and every time something happens, I would still work my way towards that submission, you know. While I think a lot of people in the blue belt are more of a like, oh, let's see what happens, and then that's the plan, you know. But I really stuck to the plan. I stuck to one plan. And so as a blue belt, I only did Darce strokes for a while, like London Open back in the day. I had, it was a weekend, so we had like no gi, and we had open weight, the weight division, open weight division, so 4 divisions. And I had 18 matches, and 8 of them I did the Darce stroke. So like in total, I was doing Darce as much as possible all the time. And slowly, what happened also in my gym is that people started knowing that I wanted to Darce people, right? And so when that happens, they give me a certain like different reaction, and that would force me to develop a different kind of submission or a different kind of setup. So I think that's the natural development when I'm doing these techniques, that it forces me to do different things, and then therefore I end up in this situation. One example is, for example, from bottom, I like to go for the Tarikoplata from on their left arm or to my right. But what happened a lot is people started defending by leaning back and like hiding their arm. So fair enough, I can't catch the arm anymore. But what happened then is that I started to look for the legs. So the leg was there, and then I would manage to go in for the footlocks. So it's a very, when you look at it that way, it's a very natural development when somebody takes away the reaction and then they're giving you a different thing, right?
Yeah. Is it, if you compare it to maybe some other grappling arts, wrestling, judo, of course you can have a different style and techniques, but it's a lot more fixed. Like, okay, these are the handful of techniques that are successful in competition. This is how we drill and do this and that. And Jiu-Jitsu seems to be a lot more playful and more developing still in terms of players trying out different techniques or whole new things being developed. Do you think there's some kind of, we're gonna reach a certain plateau within the sport, that it's still kind of, not to use it as a bad word, but like immature in that sense? Or do you think that's just the nature of jiu-jitsu, that it's always gonna be keeping developing?
I think there's always going to be a key to developing for sure. I think what we're going to see is we're going to see a core. There's going to be a little core of certain moves that's going to be very efficient and natural to build a foundation around, right? Like there's certain submission like armbar and triangle. You're not gonna not learn them when you're learning jiu-jitsu, right? Those are like, just, they're there. You need to learn them, right? But then comes the specialization, right? Outside of this little core, you're gonna see people leaning to one or the other kind of games, right? Would it be spider guard, or it would be like lasso, or for example, De La Hiva, like I think what happens is we all build this kind of core, and then from there on we branch out basically. And when you're branching out, innovation is going to come at some point. And I'm not saying like everybody follows your path, but at some point, these branches touch in certain points, right? So one thing leads to the other, and then so everybody finds their way through the branches, but it's not necessarily, it's going to be unique for everybody,
Yeah, so, different routes.
So it's going to be cool to see.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, to see jiu-jitsu 10 years from now.
Yeah.
We got a few questions from followers on Instagram. And Human Forklift is gonna set those up.
Yeah, we got 2 social media questions for you. The first one is from De Groot BEE. His question is, what are you currently working on BJJ wise?
Currently working on BJJ wise. So I've been working a little bit of lapel guards. So I've been doing some squid guard, worm guard. And actually, I've been trying this little new guard as well. It's like a reverse lasso in a sense. But I don't know if it has a name. People call it different things. And then there's also one guard by, I think, Caio has been doing it for a time. And John Thomas, the YouTube guy, has also posted a little bit about it. He calls it the device guard. And yeah. There's a lot of cool things to try out, like for sure. And I'm trying to drill them with my girlfriend as well. So she complains a little bit here and there, but especially now that I'm 85 kilos.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, there's a couple of cool things that I'm trying to work on.
And the second question is from Brando Commando BJJ. Would you consider fighting Tainan Dalpra at the next Who is Number One event, if that's possible?
Yeah, actually, so I wanted to do that, like, because one of the guys had to step out from the fight to win, and the thing is that Flow Grappling, they don't pay you the trip or anything like that for you. So at that point, I was thinking about trying to ask if I could step in, but at the same time, I was like, okay, I have potentially a job a seminar in a different place that I could like. So financially, it was a better choice not to go for a fight to win. But who knows? Maybe in the future, I would love to do it.
You might have to cut weight though.
I think for sure, like when they're hosting it in the US, it's easier for people to, or it's easier for them to bring the athletes from around that area. But like I don't care, like traveling for that, I would do it for sure.
That's
Awesome.
cool.
We have a question from our previous guest, Martin Bouwens.
Yeah.
He talked a lot about strength training himself. He's actually, you might know, he's really into that, and he's writing an ebook at the moment about jiu-jitsu specific strength training. And obviously he was very interested in how you approach that. You already talked a little bit about that in the beginning, but maybe can you tell us a little bit more about your strength training during general times? Do you do powerlifting, and do you also do other things on the side of that, like CrossFit or calisthenics or something like that?
There's there's certain things that I want to learn for sure, just for my own interests, like muscle ups and rings and stuff like this. I just want to learn it, so that's why I try to do it. But learning the false grip calisthenics, when you're in the rings, can be really good for your jiu-jitsu actually. Like, I don't know if you guys know from like the Kimura grip, you do basically this kind of position with your hands, and it's pretty much like a false grip that you learn to be super strong from, you know. So there's certain things that have some relation to what you do in jiu-jitsu and can help you out. But when it comes to strength training, like what I did before, before Corona times, I would do maximal strength training, which means heavy load, a few repetitions, and 4 or 5 sets, depending on what it is. I would choose like core exercises, or like the base exercises. I mean, like deadlift, squats, bench press, and like just like stick to those core exercises. Some hip thrusts, stuff like that. That is super, like, it's specific. It's good for jiu-jitsu. Like you can see the relation between hip thrusts and jiu-jitsu. It's very natural movement in between the both of them. And I guess like on Saturdays I would do the high intensity training, where I would make my pulse go really high. And this would be a great way to push, like there's something called the lactic threshold, which is basically the point where you're pushing your body so hard that your muscles are almost like stiffening up. And when you do that often, you can push that limit a little bit higher each time, right? Which allows you to work on a higher level and even longer. And so I believe that's important also for jiu-jitsu, and therefore very high intensity becomes like something that I do on a Saturday, because it's natural to have a rest day after that. So Sunday would be the day I would be no jiu-jitsu and no strength training, you know?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's important to kind of like spread them out throughout your week, and make it balanced with all the other things that you're doing, so that you get enough rest, get enough food. You know, you have to be able to get in some meals right after the trainings. And I mean, jiu-jitsu is gonna freeze your gains. Like you're not gonna grow muscles as fast as if you did it only strength training, right? And I think that's fine, because you get better at jiu-jitsu at the same time. But then comes periods where you have to focus on one or the other.
Yeah. Speaking about food, that's kind of Martin's follow-up question. He's very interested in. He says you eat very healthy, but your portions are very small. I don't know where he saw that, but apparently your meals are not that big. And he was wondering, like, is it because you're a relatively light athlete? You're getting heavier now, compared to him at least, or are you like cutting?
No, but it's true to some degree. Like I could probably eat more some days. So if I'm gonna be like super specific, I'm around 360 calories. No, 3,600 calories a day, and I mean, it depends, you know. Like some days you're gonna work out harder, you would need more to fill up, and like I try to eat eat as clean as possible. But I also like, I'm like, during the times like this, I don't have any motivation to stay eating clean. So I will eat a chocolate here and there, no matter, like, it doesn't matter. But as long as I eat the good food as well as the chocolate, that's good, you know? So I think the important part is not to replace the good food with the junk, basically. If you eat the junk on top of the healthy food, I feel like it's no problem. Unless you're trying to go down in weight, of course. But in my case, it doesn't matter at the moment.
But do
I
you
will try to
follow
cut.
because in terms of the good food, do you follow a certain diet like vegan or like the special foods you don't touch?
I basically just go as protein and like protein rich food, like healthy carbs. Try not to like go to the bad things, you know, like what's it called, saturated fats, and you know, I try to make food at home. Basically, that's the key there.
Yeah, fresh
Like
ingredients.
I try to make pizza dough out of egg, quark, and oatmeal.
Right.
So it's like one way of making pizza, you know. There's people who make pizza dough out of kale, but I don't know how that works. I still haven't tried it.
Yeah.
But the point is, like, things are endless when it comes to possibilities with food, to be honest. And there's always like some way you can change it up and make it healthier, in a sense. But at the same time, important to get all the calories and enough carbs, enough proteins, enough fats, and depending on how you want to balance between those three, yeah, it depends. That's the difference between the diets. I feel like a lot of the diets are different when it comes to how much you have of those three, you know. Some will be no carbs, some will be no fat, some will, like, most of them, all of them have protein though. Protein is always there.
Yeah.
But if it's 50% to 30%, that's the difference when it comes to those diets.
Right. Understood. We have our final our final section of the interview, the Shark Tank. I have a few really short questions. You can answer 2 or 3 words max, and just the first idea that pops in your head at that moment.
Okay.
ADCC or IBGF?
IBGF.
Chokes or locks?
Locks.
Favorite technique?
Tarikoplata.
Obvious. Favorite competitor?
Oh, Lucas Lepre.
Favorite sushi?
Sumo.
Right.
Sumo sushi. Restaurant.
All of them. Nice.
My
Your sponsor, right? Shout out.
Yeah.
Your toughest opponent so far?
Oh, let me take Jonathan Gracie, for sure.
Knee reaping in the gi?
Knee reaping in the gi? No.
What do Norwegians think about Swedish Jiu-Jitsu?
It's good. It's okay.
Should the gyms reopen like now?
Cautiously, very cautiously. I think it's important to do it in a proper manner.
Yeah. Step by step. Yeah, you already mentioned that you guys are starting the first steps. So I really hope Norway, but also the rest of the world, of course, can reopen soon in a healthy manner, of course.
Yeah, I think it's important just to like to don't like. And I'm not saying that it's gonna necessarily kill anyone, but let's say if something happens, imagine what kind of rumor you would set to your academy if somebody got sick and died, you know, from being big at your academy. That I think that can ruin your reputation pretty bad, you know. And I mean, it's better to be cautious, and I think it's also more, it tells people that you're taking the safety regulations, and people will be feeling more safe to come over to your classes. So I think there's a couple of good things to it, as well as not getting the coronavirus.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's once this all is over, really the last question. What's the first competition? Just keeping in mind what you see, how do you see it developing right now? The lifting of the lockdown. What's the first competition you're going to be focusing on?
Well, I don't know. Europeans 2021. I think that's it looks like that's what's coming, you know, like maybe we get to see some of the Nogi season this year, but from the looks of it, I mean, October, September, it doesn't look like there's happening anything then. So probably will take even further or longer time until things are back.
Yeah.
So perhaps by 2021, Europeans will be back.
Right. Okay. Yeah. It's. I mean, it's a long time, it seems, but I guess also on the other hand, time goes fast, and who knows?
Yeah.
We might be there really quickly. Well, we're really looking forward to see you on the mat again. And
Thank you.
Really want to thank you for your time and sharing, well, your story and your wisdom with us. And
Yeah, no problem. It's a pleasure. And if you guys want to see more of my techniques and stuff that I'm doing, so check out my YouTube channel, Tarik BJJ.
all right.
And I'll be posting there weekly. So what I'm doing is basically the curriculum that I show at my academy, and I think that could be cool.
Yeah, great. We'll put a link down in the description of this video. If you're watching on YouTube on our Gi Expert channel, make sure to check out Tarik's videos. And also, if you like this video and you want to keep watching the next episodes, subscribe to the channel. We also have a whole bunch of gear reviews and some technique videos here. So make sure you subscribe here. And after that, the first thing you do is go to Tarik's channel and subscribe there as well if you haven't yet. Also, leave a comment down in the comments below what you thought about this video and perhaps what you would like to see in coming videos or what kind of interviewees you'd like to see. Tarik, thanks a lot again. And I wish you a great day. Talk to you soon.